All right, welcome back. Can we start by doing a bit of a shoulder stretch in front? Yeah? Feel a bit relaxed? I see only the men are doing it, the women are not doing it. They're ignoring that part, yeah? How about a high five to the person next to you, maybe? We're here? Okay, that sounded very sleepy. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're all set to commence track 2 here. Key insights on driving growth through trust and innovation in the workplace. And if you're still interested on exploring the key insights of driving growth through trust and innovation in the workplace, then you are at the right place. So, quick reminder for you to please turn your chairs towards the screen, facing the screen, not to the wall, because it'll be very comfortable for you. The speakers are going to be here, not there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and in this session, we will uncover key insights into driving organizational growth through trust and innovation. Trust is the foundation of thriving workplace, fostering collaboration, creativity, and commitment. And we have 2 speakers today from our Great Place to Work team who will speak on the topics of driving organizational growth through trust and innovation. First up, we'd like to introduce you to the Vice President of Great Place to Work India, who will speak on driving organizational growth through trust. He joined Great Place to Work India in 2014 and currently heads the assessment, certification and recognition business. He has played multiple roles within Great Place to Work, including leading the community and events business and heading the Southern Territory before moving to a leadership role. Along with his team, he looks after client experience and sales for all partner organizations in India. With a keen interest in research and insights, he has also authored numerous articles and research reports around the best places or best workplaces in India and across major industries for information technology, BFSI, manufacturing and retail. And ladies and gentlemen, could you please put your hands together for Akshat Shah, ladies and gentlemen. That's him here as well. And ladies and gentlemen, joining Akshat is we have the Head of Assessment, Business and Client Services at Great Place to Work, Sri Lanka. She currently heads the assessment arm of Great Place to Work in Sri Lanka, overseeing business development, client project management, as well as production of the annual studies of best places, workplaces in Sri Lanka. Could you please put your hands together for Ruani Alvis Heva, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to hand over to them to take over the first session. So let's give them both a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. We've received a very warm welcome. And I'm often told, since this is the first time that I've come to Sri Lanka, that India and Sri Lanka are like siblings. They're close but competitive at the same time, especially with cricket. So in case you don't like what I have to say, just remember, like any other sibling, I'm still family. And I come from a city called Mumbai, and I don't know how many of you may know. Yeah. So Mumbai is known for a lot of things, but amongst others, a lot of traffic snarls every day on your way to work. And trust and innovation is actually a fundamental part of our everyday life and how we get to work. And maybe I'll share some of that with you as we go along. I'm also going to talk about Great Place to Work and our journey so far, and some questions that leaders and boards across the entire country and the continent have been asking me, including the very first question on why is it that I joined Great Place to Work and why have I been here for 10 years now? And the answer for me has always been very simple. It's the mission and the impact that we intend to bring. So Great Place to Work started about 3 decades ago. And the idea of doing what we do is very simple, which is work has the power to transform society. And it is then that we've made it our mission to make every place a great place to work for all. And we consciously say every place and not every organization because this goes beyond just organizations. This talks about communities, this talks about regions and countries at large as well. And it's this journey that has now taken us to over 170 countries that we do some really good work, learn from many wonderful organizations like yours, and represent the voices of millions of employees in what they think makes their organization a great place to work, or what they think they would like to see their organization to do. And if you ask me, we're just getting started.
Right. So many of you would have read the briefing and seen that we've done a study when it comes to the best workplaces in Asia and the Middle East. And a round of applause, we have quite a few people in the room who have come to join the session from all around Asia. So with that, we thought we would delve into the insights from an Asian context as well. So the Best Workplaces study by Great Place to Work was just completed and published at the end of August as well. It covered over 3,000 organizations in Asia and the Middle East across 36 different countries. And this is coming from a 2.7 million respondents that represent nearly 7 million employees across the region as well. So why do we do these studies? It's to help us understand what it is that is the employee thinking, what is it that they are experiencing in our country as well as in the region, so that we can create and share insights with audiences like yourselves. So we selected from this data pool 200 of the best workplaces out of these 3,000 organizations. And that gave us the opportunity to understand what are the best doing better than the rest. But this year, Great Place to Work globally did something new as well. We did an independent workplace study to understand what is the typical employee in a country thinking about their workplace. So this is not organizations undertaking the Great Place to Work assessment, but employees, everyday employees working in any organization. And that allowed us to understand what is the feeling in a typical workplace in Asia as well, which the data will show you. We can now compare the best versus the typical as well. Right. And of course, when it comes to taking on the next part, what is it that Great Place to Work measures in these different studies as well? It comes down to what we call the Great Place to Work model. Now, as you can see, the employee is in the center, because what we measure is the employee's day-to-day experience and their feeling that they have working with their managers, with their colleagues in an organization. We say that this is based on 3 key relationships. Number 1, the employee and the managers that they work for. Do they trust them? And this trust managers can build through the consistent demonstration of credibility, respect, and fairness. Secondly, we look at the relationship between employee and his or her work or their job. Do I feel a sense of pride in what I do? And this actually brings more meaning to people's work. It makes them alive to think, I make a difference in our organization, and it can motivate employees as well. Thirdly, we look at the relationship between employee and their colleagues. To what extent are colleagues bonded together? To what extent do we feel like we are a team, we are a family, etc.? That helps create a sense of belonging as well, we find. So all this together created in a great place to work is not enough. We also say it has to be a great place to work for all. So what that means is, regardless of who you are, what you do, and where you come from, it doesn't matter. You have to be consistently also feeling this great place to work effect. So what is the great place to work effect? The great place to work effect is the fact that, and we say that it starts actually with leadership. And leaders shape the day-to-day experience of employees. And the employee experience is what finally creates this type of culture that we have in an organization. And of course, culture thereafter can either drive or it can stall your organization performance as well. But what we've seen in the best workplaces is that it definitely is a plus point where culture is driving performance. And these best workplaces are excelling in terms of all different kinds of business metrics, regardless of their size, industry, or geography. What it tells us, ladies and gentlemen, is that being great is great for business.
I want to now talk about the second question that I'm asked quite often when we talk about talking to business heads or CEOs about why they should make their organization a great place to work. And the question is very simple, is there a business case? And like Rovani mentioned, creating a great place to work starts with the leadership. They shape the experience shapes the culture, and the culture is what drives performance. And if we talk about data from our study in Asia itself, we've seen consistently that the best workplaces that have focused on building a culture of trust and creating positive employee experience outperform a typical organization on many fronts. This includes their ability to have their people go the extra mile to get the job done. This includes them endorsing the organization to family and friends as a great place to work. This also includes their intent to stay with the organization for a long time and contribute. This also includes their ability to service their customers. And above all, it includes their ability to be agile and adaptive in a world that is ever changing. And all of this, of course, leads to better business performance, and all metrics, whether it's customer satisfaction, financial performance, or operational efficiency, go in the right direction. But to make my point further, our team in the US commissioned a study of the best workplaces that were publicly traded and compared their stock market returns with certain indices in the US stock market, such as the Russell 3000. And what they've observed over 20 plus years is that the best workplaces have been providing much higher shareholder returns than the market indices. And I know the question that you have in mind, and I've got this as well, that is it that successful businesses make better workplaces, or is it the other way around? And if you look at this data, you will see that around the time when there was a recession in 2008, 2009, the best workplaces also do fall down. So they're not completely immune to external factors. But you will see that even then, they perform much better than the stock market indices. So that has helped us establish, of course, that it is creating a great workplace that drives performance and business success and not the other way around. When we looked at this data in India a couple of years back, we were very curious to see, would this hold true for India as well? Because we have many of the best workplaces that are also publicly traded in India. And no surprise, we found the results to be the same, where the best workplaces in India have outperformed the market indices by a factor of at least 3 consistently every year. And some of us decided to put our money where our mouth is, and we did invest some of our bonuses into these stocks, and I must tell you, we've made some neat returns. This has also been validated by people of academia, and one example that I want to talk about is Professor Alex Edmonds, who is actually a finance professor at London Business School. And he has also established causality between creating an organization with purpose or a great place to work and seeing improved financial results. And he has a very interesting TED Talk I must recommend that you watch on this as well. But suffice to say that there's enough and more data and evidence to show that creating a great place to work should be a business agenda and should be a leadership agenda and not just an HR agenda. And like Rovani mentioned very well, that this has to be a leadership agenda, and it starts there because it's leaders who will shape the experience. And in our model, and when we've studied organizations across the world, that one secret sauce, or rather not so secret sauce, is of course trust. I want all of you to close your eyes for a couple of seconds. Close your eyes, please. It'll just take 2 minutes. And it's not going to be a magic trick. I want you to visualize a reservoir. It's a big reservoir which is not filled to the brim, but maybe 3/4 up to the brim. And now, with every interaction that you have with somebody, that reservoir is either filling up more or it is coming down, depending on the nature of the interaction. Now, I want you to open your eyes. This is exactly how trust works. As leaders, every interaction that we have with our people or our peers will either add to that reservoir of trust or will deplete from it. So it is the how and the quality of your interactions as leaders that will determine what is the foundation of trust that you're building with your people and with your organization. And as you go about the rest of your day and at work, once in a while I want you to think about your interactions in this manner. That after a conversation with one of your peers or one of your reportees, and a tough one at that, do you think you've added to that reservoir, or do you think you've taken from it?
Right. So what is the data telling us? When it comes to the study in Asia and the Middle East, we tend to think that there's a lot of differences amongst us, from Japan to South Korea to Oman and Kuwait on the other side, and in between, little Sri Lanka. But what the study actually shows us is that there's a great sense of commonality between these countries and what employees tend to feel on a grand scale of things. And we'd like to share with you some of these common themes as well, because regardless of it being a mature market like Australia or a relatively newer budding market like Vietnam, we see that consistently employees are looking for leaders who care, and who care about their needs, and who put employees also first, or as important as they do to creating profits, or what we call shareholder value creation as well. And we find that there are 3 key things that we can help you also understand, and that you can also do to elevate this growth in your organization, to look at how you can ensure that your managers are also supporting the way that culture can drive performance in your business. And some of these things are not going to be very scientific. Some might say, wow, this isn't rocket science. But I will tell you that some of these things are easier said than done. So number 1 is in the integrity demonstrated by the managers, not once, not twice, but every day, all the time. Employees are watching each and every manager. Their observations as well as their experiences of managers' actions and behaviors is what creates integrity as well, or the perception of integrity. So at the same time, managers need to be very mindful about what it is that they are doing, what it is that they are saying as well in the workplace, in what they do. Critically, in key times, as things like when you are recruited to an organization, when you are in a development opportunity, or like a promotion or training and opportunities being given, these are the times that employees critically look at how is it that the management is handling this particular situation as well. Now, some best practices around maintaining this comes actually from a variety of organizations the Great Place to Work teams in the different countries have assessed. First of all, we have Prosper, who in Australia is a fintech company. And while they are not the biggest name, they are actually one of the organizations, being in that financial space as well, that pride themselves on what they call salary benchmarking. And I think a lot of organizations here in the room may do that as well. They go the extra step to ensure that they are as transparent as possible to this remuneration consultant and publish a report that is available to their employees also to create that transparency. They bring in this consultant to also see the different gender disparities that could be there and to take action to avoid such disparities as well. We also have organizations like Persero in the Philippines, where they have what they call talk to the board or executive board. And I think this is something, again, that many of us have, but they go a step further. They actually train the board of executives to see how they can communicate better, effectively, more aligned, and how they can adapt their communication styles in a way that they can respond to employees in a more meaningful way. And that's something that they are doing as a best practice. We also see organizations like Accenture in the Philippines who do what we call a 30-30 conversation, 30 minutes for an employee every 30 days with their manager to ensure that both parties are aligned in what they say and do and work as well. And of course, we have another organization, fairly new name, we call 24/7 AI. So 24/7 AI takes it a step further in terms of creating accountability. They've had a program that they call You Said You Did. And there what they do is after the survey, they put their plans in action and they ensure quarterly that they go back to the employees and they are sharing with them, this is what we did, X, Y, Z, and this is how we did it, A, B, C, so that they create that sense of integrity in our actions match our words as well. So when it comes to number 2, we have what we call open and two-way communication and authentic collaboration. So a lot of the time we share information and that is great, but at the same time we want employees to feel heard. Employees want to feel that their ideas have been taken, that their suggestions have been implemented, and the feedback loop has been closed as well. And one of the organizations that does this the best is actually Talking Across the Hall, DHL Express. And they are an organization that is the #1 multinational in the world, as well as one of the #1 best workplace in Asia. So what have we learned from them? After the survey, they are very, very diligent about understanding their results. Even if it's a 1-point drop, they want to know what happened and what are we going to do about it. They take it to the next level, where they have what we call listening groups. And they take collaborative groups together with employees and managers to take action. And thereafter, they monitor this on a quarterly basis, and they make sure that they are measuring it throughout the year to make that change. But of course, when it comes to collaboration, it's not about doing it with only those that are available or only those that we feel are engaged. It's about bringing everybody into the room or giving everybody a place at the table. And something very innovative that DHL Express did in Saudi Arabia, a country where you can't, two genders, or the two genders, male and female, it's illegal for them to work together in the same workplace, we are told. And what they did at DHL Express was to enable women and employment for women. They set up an office or organization, or office in the organization that only women are working at. So instead of saying, okay, this is a law, let's just leave them aside, they allowed them a seat, they allowed them an opportunity, and they collaborated to bring women also into the workforce for DHL Express in a country, seeing what they can do. So lastly, number 3, the third thing that we see is very common across the region and very critical to creating a greater performance in both individuals and the organization is a genuine sense of care from the managers, the management, the organization, towards the employees and really having these relationships within an organization. And some of the organizations that do it best, of course, are organizations like Cisco that have a variety of benefits for their employees. Time off, yes, the usual, but even additional things like time to give, 10 days off a particular year to go and volunteer and do something that you also care about. We also have organizations that, and even Cisco does things like telemedicine, etc., that is becoming much more popular here in Sri Lanka as well. But telemedicine is not only for employees at Cisco, it's also given out to their extended family, spouses, children, etc., and even their parents. So it's about how can we take it to the next level. We also have another organization, a smaller one called Abiva from the Philippines. They also don't take into consideration tenure when they bring these benefits out. If you join their organization from day number 1, you are eligible to the various health benefits, etc., and they don't differentiate. So we have other organizations like Hilton and Marriott, especially during the crisis time. They took the steps when it comes to caring to really show, when it comes to your wages or increments or service charges, etc., to see what they can do more for employees, how they can, especially Marriott they were looking at a 4.6 wage increase at the time. They brought it forward. Again, there was a particular regulation being brought in for Marriott, I think, in the Philippine region again. And instead of waiting for that rule to apply, they knew that people were having a tough time, and they applied that increment early on. And we saw Hilton also doing a lot of work here. We're standing in Hilton as well, so it comes to mind, working to help employees, especially in the realm of wages and cost of living and affordability of that. Right. So when we come very quickly now next to the level of trust that we talk about, and what does the data tell us? So here we see on screen 3 bars, and the red is what we call the best workplaces, and the gray is in the typical workplaces. And as you can see, the word managers, managers, managers comes out a lot. And that is because when it comes to creating these positive experiences, ladies and gentlemen, managers are the forefront in building that trust. And we can see that the best workplaces really are outperforming the typical workplaces when it comes to these factors like fairness and the ability to understand that there are reasonable mistakes, honest mistakes in the workplace as well, and especially when it comes to maintaining that management reliability. We also see that these are not easy areas. These are areas where the best workplaces struggle as well. But the typical workplace struggles even more, which is why we have this particular gap as well. Right. And now we see on the screen another data point. 89% of employees believing that the organization celebrates new ways of doing things. Now, why is this important? So it's important because when we look at the data, we see that employees that do believe this are 69% more likely to quickly adapt to change. They are 18% more likely to give discretionary effort. These are critical things that will allow an organization to build resilience, that will allow an organization to adapt to change, things that are very important when it comes to business growth and furthering the performance of an organization as well. Lastly, when it comes to trust and innovation, they actually go hand in hand. When it comes to employees, we see the data telling us that every brainstorming session you do, every hackathon, every sprint, or any opportunity that you give employees to innovate, to do something different, to collaborate and work, allows them to really trust their leaders more. It enhances their experience so that their potential is being maximized and the organization's performance is also improving to such an extent that 372% are more likely to have confidence in their management because of the opportunities that they're getting. And why is this important, ladies and gentlemen? Because in this day and age, there's so much change, and managers have to pivot around and make sure that we're going in the right direction. Having your employee buy-in at that point, that confidence in your decisions becomes critical to support that growth. And therefore, it is definitely something worth having on your side as well. Over to you, Akshay.
Thank you. We spoke about the role of trust in driving growth, and we've also now established that when an organization is a great place to work, along with business results, it also sees accelerated innovation. And innovation, without a doubt, is how organizations are going to stay ahead in a market that's ever changing. And by innovation, we don't mean the grandfather's definition of innovation, which is some people in R&D or in some small unit will figure out what's the next best thing. We mean innovation by all, which is how is it that an organization is fostering a culture of innovation ground up? How is each and every employee encouraged to think different and try and do innovation or do things in a better manner in whatever small or big way? And as a best practice, we've seen leaders do a couple of things in ensuring that they're able to foster this culture across their organization. The very first is to build an environment that is inclusive, where ideas from diverse segments of your people are encouraged, invited, and appreciated. And you're also creating an environment where people are agile and adaptable and not necessarily very complacent in where they are. The other thing that's been very important in ensuring that an organization is building or fostering a culture of innovation is incentivizing and rewarding forward thinking. Are organizations appreciating employees when they come up with new and better ways of doing things? Are they celebrating failures? And are they encouraging these behaviors as a way to go? And of course, we've also seen that there has to be some amount of organization and streamlining that is required. So do you have processes that capture ideas, that capture these innovations, and a process to execute them in a streamlined manner? The most important, in my view, is building a culture that is celebrating learning ability, which is constantly challenging the status quo and constantly learning with whatever is happening and adapting yourself to do the same. So let's take a quick poll with the audience. We've, of course, found these to be true in our research, but we were keen to understand, what do all of you think is the most important out of these in driving a culture of innovation? I want you to take your phones out, ladies and gentlemen, and scan the QR code on the screen and answer that question. Which of these do you think is the most important in fostering a culture of innovation? In case you can't scan the QR code, you can also go to menti.com and put in the code 1897454. Once again, scan the QR code and tell us what you think is the most important in fostering a culture of innovation. Or please go to menti.com and type in the code that you see on your screen. Can we switch over to the results, please? Very interesting. So we do have a lot of mixed opinions in the room. But it seems forward-thinking incentives is what most of you agree is the most important in driving or fostering a culture of innovation. Lifelong learning and adaptive environment are close seconds, with agile risk-taking and streamlined ideation to be followed. There's another question you might see on the same link now, which is, how is it that your organization is preparing to be ready? And a workplace that is ready, of course, is one that fosters trust and innovation. So we'd love to see what you are doing to foster this culture, and what does this room collectively think? So we've got 3 responses so far. Think different, acceptance of ideas, supporting a collaborative and agile environment, upskilling, open feedback and communication. Wonderful. So we'll keep this on and we'll collect a few more responses to see what the room is thinking. But the idea of doing this is to go back and think which of these can we apply in our organizations and encourage people to think differently. Before I close, I want to talk about what we think is going to determine the future of work or how organizations stay ahead in the market for talent. One of the themes of the day today is, of course, on purpose. So we, of course, think purpose is going to be a big priority. Organizations and employees are going to prioritize purpose over other factors that traditionally have been more important, because that is directly linked to the satisfaction they derive from the job and how they feel about their organization in general. We've also seen the movement towards sustainability is a must, and sustainability both in terms of the impact we have on communities and the environment, but at the same time, our practices as well. And something that may not come up as a surprise is fostering a sense of belonging. We've seen that organizations where employees feel that they're able to belong and they can be themselves are able to innovate much faster, and will see other things also move in the right direction. And last but not the least, flexibility is going to be a given, where the default expectation, at least when we look at data from across the continent, from employees is to have flexibility in whatever shape or form that suits your business context. But in the post-COVID era, having flexibility is going to be the deciding factor in where people choose to work, stay, and perform. The last question that I'm going to share with you today, which I get asked is, and this is for organizations who've done the process, they've been certified as a great place to work, and then they ask me, now is it? Is that done? And I've always smiled and said that becoming a great place to work it's a journey. It's not a destination. It is something you have to constantly strive to do and do better each year. And you've never really reached that milestone because of how quickly everything changes. And this includes not just external factors, but expectations of employees as well. And I often keep telling people that there are best practices that you can learn from. There are wonderful organizations that have done it and done it consistently so. But what we've also observed is that no two organizations have done it the same way. Every organization has had their own path to becoming a great place to work. And which is why what I want to leave you with, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's not the what that will make a difference. You can learn all the practices, you can learn all the best things to do, but simply picking them up and applying them in your organization may not mean the difference. It's the how that you do it. And Ruvani spoke about this in some of the practices. Some practices are not very uncommon, but the difference is the how. So that's what I want to leave you with today, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And think about the how instead of the what. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to Akshat and